Okay, so in today's episode of Digital Superchats podcast, we're joined by the man, the legend that is Oli Hopkinson. Oli, welcome on board.
Thank you for having me, John. Very kind introduction that I don't agree with, but thank you anyway.
Well, I'm saying it, and it's the truth. Now, the last time I saw Oli was about 3 years ago when he emceed. I think it was Digital Superchats number 7, and Oli, for anybody that doesn't know, is going to be the MC for Digital Superchats number 18. So, Oli, basically, the way this is going to work is I'm going to ask you a series of personal and business questions.
Cool.
Some of them you've possibly never in your lifetime been asked before in a business context, beyond the kind of what you do, who you work for, what's your thoughts on digital strategy in the future. I'm going to try and let our listeners or our viewers kind of get to know a little bit more about Oli, the man, the person. So we'll try and crack through this, Oli. How did you actually end up in a career in digital?
Okay, so let's go back to graduating university. I had no idea what I was going to do. I'd done a very broad degree in business and marketing. And during my final year, I was considering what my career could look like. Through university, I'd always paid my way through DJing. So I would DJ at weekends and during the week. And I wanted to try and think of how I could turn that into a career beyond just playing the club scene. So I set up a fashion label. And I actually wrote to a chap called Rajan Kumar, who owns a business called Whispering Smith, which is in Manchester City Centre. He's one of the biggest distributors of fashion across the UK. And I wrote him a letter telling him my predicament, that I was leaving university, didn't really have a plan, was big into music, and I liked fashion. So could we come up with a plan of bringing fashion to the music industry, that kind of thing? And he was in. He wanted to get involved in the business. I'd be running it, and we set up a business called Dirty Smart Clothing in around 2008, so just before the recession. And it was one of the best things that I've ever done, but a bit of a curse at the same time, because when it came to selling that business in 2010 or 2011, I was then leaving a job where I built a business in the fashion and music industry. I was early 20s, so maybe 24 at the time, and I needed to get a real job. And it was the only thing I had on my CV, and I really, really struggled. Fortunately, my big brother, who you may know, John, who I know that you know, in fact,
Max,
he was
yes.
working in digital, selling kitchens and bathrooms online. It was the family business. And he had a job opening in conversion rate optimization, which at the time I knew absolutely nothing about. But through my experience of running Dirty Smart Clothing, I understood how customers interacted with product. So Max, my brother, Max Hopkinson, taught me everything that I knew that I needed to work within the family business in conversion rate optimization. And I quickly became absolutely obsessed with understanding user behavior. And I think that this had always been drilled into me growing up with my father being in retail and distribution, understanding how people behave in certain situations through their buying cycle. Mm-hmm. It became something that I just thought about all the time, from a user seeing the first ad to creating their first click to navigating their session through a website to ultimately becoming a customer. It became something that I just obsessed over. And I didn't really look back from that point. And it didn't matter that we were selling kitchens and bathrooms and that I'd gone from a sexy industry of music and fashion. It was the user journey and understanding user psychology that really tickled me and made me obsessed with understanding digital and just behavior habits.
Fascinating. Did you give up the music, or did you continue doing music?
I was, you know what, John? I continued it for as long as I could. I went from playing in clubs to playing on the radio, and I found that it was less stressful, less time consuming. And I actually had my last gig was, I think it was in Norwich or somewhere, really, the music capital of the world, Norwich. I actually had a panic attack the moment that I stepped on stage. And I don't know what it was, but for whatever reason, being in front of 1,000 people watching my every move, I think that I'd grown up to a point where I started getting scared of things. And stepping in front of a crowd, my last gig was in Norwich. And from that point, I thought, okay, I can't handle the stress of that anymore. I'm going to do some radio stuff. Did that for a couple of years, and then I just didn't have time. The obsession with digital and wanting to progress that career took over and knocked it on the head. I'm still an absolute advocate for music, the music industry, and I
Well,
love.
we're gonna cover a question about that after, which obviously leads into kind of what you're doing in terms of music. But we'll go on to the next one now. Onto a more, let's say, light-hearted one. Let's say, how do you switch off? So obviously, listening to you, you're clearly. I know you enough, albeit I don't know you in great detail, but I know you enough to know you're very deep. As you said, you're a thinker. You've obviously said that you kind of have had battles or struggles, let's say, with the anxiety, the kind of the panic attacks, which I think, to be honest, anybody that cares about anything, when you feel you're being judged in any capacity, like public speaking would be my biggest nightmare. I would dread to stand up, although I'm talking to you now on a bloody podcast that we're going to do. Public speaking is the biggest fear that everybody has. And I know obviously you guys, Max does the Keynote Club, which is all about trying to help people overcome and develop those skills. How do you switch off? You know, I know you've got a child now. You're going to have another child, if you don't mind me saying. You're a busy man. How do you relax? How do you stop the brain from going 2,000 miles per hour?
It was probably about 5 years ago that I got obsessed with running. Now, I've got quite an addictive personality myself. And
I was going to say, but listening to you, obsessed with consumer psychology and now the the running.
When I get something into my head, I have to go. I have to go all in. 2 feet in, all in. 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, running became the thing. Now, you've met me, John. I'm not built like a runner. I'm 6'6", very broad. I weigh about 105 kilos, but it became an absolute sanctuary for me. Not just running, I suppose. It's more like any sort of type 2 fun, any sort of endurance activity became my calling. I'm not the fastest. I don't look the best, shirtless. But I love to run, and I love to stick my headphones on, listen to either some new metal or old school hip hop, or just something quite aggressive and just take my anger out, or my adrenaline, or my stress, my anxiety, take it all out on the road. And it's something that has become such a part of my life. It's almost now my personality. I'm the running guy. I will run for an hour a day at least. And if I don't get that hour on the road, I'm a miserable person to live with. My wife would tell you. Everything stresses me out. I itch. I have to just get up and out and have that hour a day to myself to organize what I'm thinking about, or just think of absolutely nothing, and to be one with the road, with the music, and with my heart beating in my chest. I love pushing myself beyond what I thought was possible, and I almost want people to think, who does that 6'6" guy think he is, running in the rain, whatever it is. But it's my favorite time of the day.
I think it's brilliant because I only started doing running during COVID. Obviously, I gave up the smoking. I think the last time you, Max, I was a 20 a day smoker for about 15 years. And I started smoking when my mother died. Basically, I'd never smoked before. And I even worked for a cigarette company for 2 years, British American Tobacco. And I used to get 2,000 samples. And I used to give them to all my family. But then during that time, my mom died. All her family were smokers. And I became basically a 20 a day smoker. But when COVID kicked in, running, I gave up the cigarettes, took up running, and like you, I absolutely love the running. So last night I went out about 9:30 for just a 5K run. But unlike you, I'll be honest, I can't run with headphones. I need to just listen I just want to hear everything around me. And that for me is my kind of sanctuary. And like you, if I didn't get that run in or that trip to the gym, I'd be a right miserable bugger. So
yeah, and I don't think that I'm a great runner, John, but I think I can. I'm definitely an endurance runner rather than a speed runner.
Yeah.
My brother is a far better runner than me. My business partner is a far better runner than me.
Yeah.
But if it was an endurance event, I would fancy my chances
We'll
again.
cover this after because I know your father, who we'll touch on later, was obviously into a lot of adventures, but we'll cover that in a question to come. So the next question would be, and I'm just reading them off the screen here. What is your favorite TV show or series this year rather than all time?
I've recently started watching Slow Horses, which is amazing, by the way. But my favorite show of this year is, without a shadow of a doubt, The Sopranos. Now, I know that I'm late to the party. My wife actually banged on about me watching The Sopranos for maybe about 5 years before I relented. But I started watching it in January this year, and I've recently completed it. And I just think that as shows go, I can't think of anything that I've ever watched that would be able to stand up against it. And it is just the subtleties of the messages that appear throughout it, and my own twisted view of the world, and people wearing a mask in certain situations, but they have this constant struggle between right and wrong, masculinity and vulnerability. It just ticks every box. And I feel that it's one of those shows that I'll be able to go back to in the next couple of years, rewatch all over again, get as excited as I got watching it this year. I just thought it was fantastic.
I agree. I've seen The Sopranos and I love it. And for anybody that hasn't watched The Sopranos, there's a character, the lead character, I think Tony Soprano. I haven't seen it for years, who's this kind of leader of obviously a mafia kind of outfit in New Jersey. But on the inside, he's obviously got a lot of vulnerabilities, but on the outside, he can't show that.
Absolutely.
Now I've only started watching Slow Horses. So obviously, Dane Stanley did one of the offline with editions, I think about 3-4 months ago. And that was his favorite program. So I'm on season 2, episode 2.
Right.
It's a bit slow for me at the minute, but everybody I hear says it's fantastic. So I'm going to persevere with it.
I'm through it. And I love Dane Stanley. He's one of my favorite people. So I'll have to check out his episode with you.
Yeah. Right. So the next question is going to be, what prompted you? Okay. So you've just recently become an author. Book called Thoughts of a Wild Pig.
Thoughts of a Wild.
Tell me what's the book about? Tell me what the book's about and why you wrote it.
I started writing it 4, 5, 6 years ago. A member of my team at work was asking us to come up with our New Year's resolutions one year. And one of mine was, I want to write a book. And I don't know why I said I wanted to write a book, other than a chap that I used to know back in the days of Dirty Smart Clothing, who's a DJ called Rob G from Canada. He released a book and I read it and I thought, great book, wonder if I can write it. And I said in this meeting, in a panic, want to write a book. So every day for the next few years, I had a 15-minute hold in my diary every lunchtime. And it would just be a time for me to write away whatever I was thinking. Then my dad died, and I thought, I was almost reflecting on what legacy means, or what Dad stood for, how ripples that he created will shape future generations. And I thought, I wonder if I could create a ripple, and a ripple being impact one person to do things slightly different with their life to change the world or change their world. So I started taking the writing more seriously around 18 months ago, after doing 15 minutes a day for 3 or 4 years. And it's a book of 50 thoughts that I have had. Some of it is about motivation, some of it is about prioritization. It's about having clarity, focus. I wouldn't call it a business book because I don't think that I'm qualified enough to write a business book, but it's more of a how do you be the best version of you through my own crass mank voice, I suppose. So I published it. I released it on the anniversary of my dad's passing, which was the 2nd of September. It went into the wild at the end of October when it had been printed. And it's available on Amazon. And all sales, the money from sales goes to one of the charities that my dad set up, Warrington Youth Zone.
Well, first of all, Ollie, listen, well done on doing that. And what I'll do is, whenever I do the edit of this podcast, exactly as you've just mentioned, what you've just said there, I'll include a little visual of the book and also a link. I'll include a link where people can buy it.
Great. Yeah, no, that'd be good. It was very cathartic writing it. And you know what? It was quite fun writing it as well, and the feedback has been great. It's been pretty divisive. Some people like it, other people think it's dreadful. But that was kind of the point anyway. It wasn't to do something where I had no ambitions to be an author or a bestseller.
Well, you might actually want to follow it up now. There'll probably be a demand for you to go, well, when's your next book?
Yeah, we'll
It
see.
might be well thoughts of I don't know a different thing, a different
Yeah.
animal.
Yeah.
Right. So the next question now, leading on, and again, okay, music. You talked about Sopranos. You talked about you used to be a DJ. I'm assuming this band, who I know very well, you listen to them. What has been your favorite album of all time? If there was one album, who would it be?
Music for a Jilted Generation, Prodigy, or Prodigy the Experience, but probably Jilted Generation was my favourite. That was my first exposure to electronic music. And I actually think it was on a tape deck that my brother had in the house that we grew up in. He had Prodigy, Music for a Jilted Generation, and just something about it completely consumed me. And I probably listened to that album at least once a month. And I've listened to it once a month for the last 15 years. Just, it gets me in a place where I feel that I can, I just feel that I can't be stopped. Whether that is running or a meeting.
Can I tell you a fun fact about me and Prodigy? And the reason I know Prodigy so well is because obviously I'm a bit older and I have bought loads of their albums. But whenever I started doing a BTEC National Diploma, so I decided to, because I knew I wanted to do something to do with business, I avoided doing A levels and did a BTEC National Diploma. And in the 90s in Belfast, we used to go to this club as 17, 18-year-olds. I think it was 17 at the time with Fake ID. I think it was Charlie Says. Was it that one? Is it Charlie Says? Is that the song?
Yeah, I think it's just called Charlie.
Used to rip up the dance floor with that. And that was me. On Prodigy, I was away, Outer Space, all the different stuff. Loved it.
It just does
Brilliant.
something. It does something to me where, I mean, the ideal situation would be if I was running a marathon and break and enter hit at around 21 miles in. So my body's completely broken, my legs are screaming, and I'm knackered. If that song hits in my headphone at that point, it's going to be a good day.
Well, listen, I'm a big boxing fan, and there's a boxer called George Groves who used to be the WBC super middleweight champion of the world. And about 4 or 5 years ago, he fought Chris Eubanks Jr. It was a big, big, big fight. And George Groves' ring walk, if you watch it on YouTube, he came out to Spitfire from the Prodigy.
Okay.
And what a song. And
yeah,
the energy. Let's just say George Groves destroyed Chris Eubanks coming into that rim walk. So
right.
anyone that doesn't know Prodigy, go and listen. So let me just check the next question. Right. If you could sign only one new client in 2026, who would it be and why?
Okay. So I think that my answer is going to surprise you, because when it comes to signing clients and working with these amazing businesses, I don't look at cachet or sexiness of a client. I've kind of fallen down that trap a few times in the past, and it has been at the detriment of my business's culture and just team kind of happiness. I'd much rather, so me and my brother talk about, we have this discussion quite a lot, and we talk about the dream client and what it looks like. And it's a client that still has a biscuit tin in their boardroom. We talk about biscuit tin clients, because when you get to the level of someone like a Nike, an Apple, Misguided, these sexy blue chip clients, there ain't any biscuit tin in their boardrooms. They have got, they've got really sexy, boardrooms, all that kind of thing. We want somebody that is on an industrial estate that is family owned, family values, really big on culture, and it's not just a few words in their foyer that no one gives a crap about. We want the biscuit tin client that really stands for something. And we recently signed a client called Clog Eye, who are a Welsh jewellery brand who mine their own gold. And the father of the chap that is now managing director was walking around the hills of Snowdonia, and he stumbled across this mine that was disused. And they just have such a heritage in their reason to exist. I feel that even though they are not the loudest brand or have the biggest budgets in the world when they're competing against some of these monsters, they have something that just can't be bought. They've got an edge which cannot be competed with, and they still have a biscuit tin, which I think is a real testament to those kind of people, and they're a pleasure to work with. My next client will be somebody that fits that kind of mold of heritage, great internal culture, someone that is challenging but also supportive. I'll take those clients all day.
Nicely said. Nicely said. What kind of biscuit would you like to have in that tin, though?
I'd have a hobnob.
Chocolate digestive from me. Right, I'm just looking down here to see any other questions. We've covered the TV, we've covered this one here. So, what's the biggest opportunity for digital marketers next year? Now, obviously, we'll cover AI a little bit, but you're going to probably say something about AI. So, for all those digital marketers tuning into this, what, in your opinion, is the biggest opportunity?
Okay. So, if we're talking about AI in a different question, I won't mention it other than say if it isn't on your agenda in most meetings or you're not using it, you're already way behind. The biggest opportunity for marketers, I think, is the additional things that you can do outside of AI. So it's managing the inputs that AI eats up to then do the things that AI does. Within Meta, within Google, there's a lot of set and forget with campaigns. Like, it has never been easier to set up a Meta campaign or a Google campaign. But what you can change and what the real people the game changers, the people that are going to win this space are going to do is really optimize what is going into the algorithms to deliver the output. So whether it's first party data, whether it's segmentation, it's really getting smart into understanding who that customer is, what is making them think, and how we can use those data points, feed the AI machine, feed the algorithms, and deliver the best results possible. It's a really interesting time for digital because all clients are all talking about AI. They're worried that they're going to get left behind. You've got it easier than ever to set up these campaigns, to work with Google, work with Meta, but there are still edges out there in data segmentation, feeding algorithms the best possible information that you can.
Yep. So I'm just again looking down here because there is one question I want to leave to the very end, which is a nice way to finish. Okay, so before we do that final question, then let's talk about AI specifically now. Okay, there's the way of putting this question where every agency in the world who obviously wants to win clients and wants to show how slick and sophisticated they are with their use of AI. But there's also the human element and the reality of the power and danger of AI. And I think if you watch any interview by Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Elon Musk, you could be quite scared in many ways as a human. So what excites you the most about AI in terms of how it can change your business and what you do for clients? And then we'll cover what scares you the most about AI, because I think it's important that we're not all blindsided by it's all roses, because there is the reality of what if it's not handled rightly. So what excites you the most first?
The speed of being able to do what was previously mundane is fascinating, and it's changed our business massively in terms of what the art of the possible is and how to have it as quickly as possible. The fact that these tools are now available for free, anyone can use them. They're just incredible. It's completely transformed how we run our agency this year versus how we were running it only 12 months ago, even 2 years ago. It has changed, and it has just made us more effective and more efficient in everything that we do. I think that there is a lot of scaremongering out there. My mum is terrified of AI. Don't know why. She doesn't work, but she's terrified of how AI is changing the world. And I think that people that are ill-informed are also living in this constant state of worry in terms of where AI can go. The way that I see things is I don't think that we know fully how AI is going to impact day to day. We don't know how it is going to impact advertising and jobs. We know what we know now. We know that AI is here. Google uses it for campaign optimization. Meta's using it. We're using it in our agency world day to day, but where it's going to be in 12 months, I think that people can speculate, but nobody fully knows. And the way that I take or handle that stress of the unknown is I just ignore it. And some people may say, is that you burying your head in the sand? And my response is, if I cannot change the outcome, what's the point in worrying about it? Best thing that I can do is to plan for a couple of different eventualities rather than panic, wake up in a broken sweat thinking agencies are not needed anymore and all my clients are going to go because they can just press a button and it'll do all of their campaigns for them. That isn't a reality that I think is going to happen. And given that it is an unknown, it's not going to be something that I'm going to particularly lose sleep over. I'm just going to do what I can, knowing what I know and what I'm seeing today to mitigate the risk of there being a detrimental impact towards business performance.
Okay, the two things that scare me the most. So again, I'm just being honest here, okay? I don't embrace AI in any shape or form at this moment. That I knowingly am aware of in my business. Every email that I send out to any delegate or speaker is personally done by me. I never use software that fires out 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 emails. I could do that quite easily, but then I lose touch of the process of what I'm engaged with. I want to build personal, authentic relationships with people. That for my business works. But what scares me is if it starts taking over jobs of, let's say, the whole population as such, and then there's no one there to buy products. Who's going to buy the products? Who's going to buy the services? Everybody's unemployed. The mental health issues that are going to be faced. So that's one major fear. And obviously from having kids, and obviously you've got a daughter and you're going to have another child. We always try and instill that personal connection. Like we still play board games with our children. We still sit around the table and try and have traditional family values because I want the kids to grow up knowing that no matter what device you've got and the technology that they want to just lose themselves in, it's important to have the human connection in life. So that's the only thing also that is a fear is, do people lose that ability to be real with human beings and the impacts it has on life and families and mental health? And yeah, but I agree with the speed, the efficiency, the productivity, and obviously, yeah.
The thing that you mentioned, John, about personal, authentic relationships, that can't be replicated by AI. Unless there's something that I don't know about how AI can have a personal, authentic relationship based on the inputs. But as far as I'm aware, it's a pretty safe space to be in. And I think that rejecting AI, if your goal is personal, authentic relationships, is not going to ever be detrimental to what you do. The future generations, our kids, your daughters, my daughter, and daughter to be, I think that the onus is on the parents to instill behaviors in them that isn't just connected to an algorithm in some way, whether that is board games, whether it's crafting, whether it's going out for a walk, these kind of things. It's almost on this generation of parents to ensure that kids don't fall into the trap of being constantly connected to something that is absorbing their habits, their behaviors, and and becoming their source of fun. And I suppose that is something that I am conscious of in my day to day. But ultimately, what the world is going to look like in the next 10 years, if I'm worrying about it, it isn't going to change whatever that outcome is. So I just think, let's get on with it.
Okay, well, listen, the final question is a really nice way to finish, and I think it's a fitting tribute to someone you've mentioned earlier. You're a very talented man based on everything you've done to date at such a young age. Who is the inspiration? Who is that one person, or maybe there's more than one person in your lifetime who for you is that it started with that person and they have inspired me to go on in my life, not just up to now, but forever? Who is that person for you?
So it won't surprise you. It's my dad, my old man. He's called Nick Hopkinson, or Hoppy to most people. I probably talk about him every day in some way, and he is without a doubt had more impact on me than anyone ever. He died 5 years ago, and it was very sudden. He was only 62, and even though I haven't spoken to him for 5 years, I hear him all the time. I hear him in the way that I treat people, or the way that I see people treating other people that have interacted with my dad. He wasn't in marketing, he was in business, he was a trader, and later in his life he became a full-time charity fundraiser and a philanthropist. And he just got people, and he understood how people behaved and how people thought. And great
Yeah.
man, miss him dearly. And if I could do anything in this life, it would be to be more hoppy, be more like my dad, give more of my time to those less
Yeah.
fortunate,
Yeah.
and hopefully some of the things that I try and do in my day to day will start stacking up, and hopefully, I'll be able to create ripples like he made ripples in his life.
Well, listen, I mean, first of all, I never met your dad. Obviously, I know from talking to Max in the past and yourself, I know he's been a very important person. I know he's done a lot. The fact that you live your life inspired by your dad to this day will go on forever. And hopefully the biggest ripple that you'll have is in your children. They will maybe in 20, 30 years, maybe that, I don't know if it'll be a podcast then, but if someone was to turn around, the biggest success for any man or woman is if your children can remember you as that inspirational great father, then you've succeeded in life, regardless of what's in your bank account. And the fact that your father has done that for you, Max, is testament, and I'm sure he's proud of everything that you've both done and that you do every single day, because you're both formidable. So I didn't know whether to ask that question at the end, but I wanted to ask it anyway. So
It's one of those things when you lose somebody who means so much to you, it changes your perspective on everything, on parenting, on business, on just living life. And I think that the key things that have changed for me is losing my dad, and I now don't worry about anything. We talked about AI. I don't worry about it. I'll plan for it, but if it's something that I have no direct impact on changing the trajectory of what is happening, I just think there's nothing I can do. So I'm just going to plan for that situation. The other thing it really taught me was presence and really being in the moment all the time, whether that is with my daughter. If I'm with my daughter, I ain't answering the phone. Like, I won't even have my phone near me. I want to be fully ingratiated in her world, whether that is me dressing up as a Disney princess or whether it's playing a board game. I want to be fully in that moment with her, because time's ticking all the time, and you never know when your time is.
I agree. Well, listen, thank you very much for your time. Great questions, great answers. Hopefully everybody that's listening and watching, this episode will be put onto Spotify as an audio version, Apple Podcasts as an audio, and also on YouTube as a video version. Thank you for being a guest. And obviously we've got you on the 13th of January, 2026 as the MC. So before we sign off, is there any big announcements or anything you want to plug in any way about Bind or anything coming up as we close off?
Thank you for the opportunity to do that. So the first thing I'd want to plug is if you want to donate money to charity, but you don't want to and potentially get a gift for somebody, Christmas is coming up. Thoughts of a Wild Pig. It's there. It's in Amazon. It's a bit weird, but all money goes to charity.
Yes.
Second thing, I don't really want to plug my business because that's not why I'm here, but I would like to thank a few people, my business partners, Becca Lamb and Will Pigeon. I absolutely love working with them. They are amazing, and everyone at Bind, you're the best. So yeah, thank you for the time, John. Really appreciate it, and thank you anyone for listening.
All right. Well, thanks very much. Nice
Cheers.
talking to you.